I attended this conference because I was invited to speak about, as you say, the barriers to net zero, without a lot of definition, if you will, as to what was meant by barriers, whether we were talking about bumps in the road or whether we were talking about massive obstacles that were potentially going to make it infeasible to attain the net zero target. And I agreed to come because I thought it was very important that Canadians have a better understanding of the challenges that people face when they talk about climate policy. The net zero is the goal by which Canada would essentially eliminate all or almost all of its consumption of hydrocarbons, oil, natural gas, and coal. That is a challenge that would have significant impacts on the Canadian economy and on the way of life that we have in Canada. And it's one that is presented to us by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the media as something that must be attained by 2050, with significant progress towards it by 2030. My goal was to try to indicate what the technological, economic, and political difficulties would be in achieving that goal. And I was quite pleased to do that within the context of the theme of the conference, which was basically freedom talk. So it was not only a question of whether one could achieve an environmental objective, but whether you could do so in a way that preserved the freedom that Canadians enjoy. No, it's not actually. Yes, we have very high levels of hydroelectricity in Canada's electricity generation mix. We also have a significant amount of nuclear energy. There are continue to be about 10% of Canadian electricity generation that's dependent on coal. And we have a significant an important amount of electricity generation that's dependent upon natural gas. So the real issue is with respect to the electricity, is to what extent it would be feasible to completely eliminate the remaining generation that is based upon coal and natural gas. The broader objective of net zero, however, has to do not just with completely eliminating hydrocarbons in electricity generation, but in completely electrifying the Canadian economy. In other words, taking all of those sectors of the economy that now are powered by hydrocarbons, and that means primarily transportation, industry, commerce, and converting those energy uses to reliance completely on electricity. So it's a two-part challenge, each one of which is very daunting in terms of its expense and its impact on people's lives. Well, electricity is a secondary source of power of energy, if you will, and to the extent that people try to replace the coal and natural gas generation sources, the current proposals are that would be primarily met through increased use of windmills, solar energy, and to some extent by biomass energy. And the problem with those is that those sources of energy are intermittent, which is to say that they only produce energy with respect to wind and solar when the wind blows or the sun shines, and that's not all the time. The average generation from a wind facility, for example, is about 30%. But it varies around that number, and there are many calm days when much of the wind-powered facilities produce no energy at all. So at times like that, when the wind is not blowing or the sun is not shining, you have to have a backup source of generation. Now that's primarily coal and natural gas, with a heavy emphasis upon natural gas, because it has many economic advantages as well as environmental ones. But the stated goal of decarbonization is to eliminate those energy sources, even as backup sources of supply. So it's a matter of switching instead to reliance upon bulk power storage in batteries, which is extraordinarily expensive. And it's that cost which may well end up being the main financial barrier to the complete electrification of the Canadian electricity generation sector. If you were to go whole hog, as it were, and completely electrify the Canadian economy, and then eliminate the portions of electricity generation that is now provided by hydrocarbons, the amount of storage capacity that you need would be enormous. The total cost of it varies depending upon the estimate, but it would probably exceed Canada's current gross domestic product.